Morning, Michael. How are you?
Mr. Kilgallen, how are you? This is an unfamiliar setup, it feels like for you. I see it on a weekly basis, but for these shows, I feel like your background is ever changing, and we've seen the MetLife parking lot, we've seen the London pub, we've seen a very very nice conference room at a Marriott. Like I feel like the man of many places.
I'll tell you, I'm so happy to be back. Last week feels like a fever dream watching this game in London, even though it's at a different stadium. Watching this game in London this morning and like having bounced around. I actually got offered tickets to today's game for free from a very nice person. And I was like, man, I can't. Like, I just can't. I can't do this anymore. I can't be all over the place going to these games. So I am so happy to be back in my house to watch this one.
Yeah, I watched mostly, I think most games in my apartment this season is one I was actually out for in public, which is obviously a mistake because they lost. Retreated back to my humble abode quickly after. But this is a game that the Jets are 1.5 point favorites in, or underdogs in. I know this line has like switched. I don't know if it goes back to the Jets. I would not be surprising. Also, very good point from Mac Nova. Tickets still require a $50 parking pass. Fair point.
Yeah.
But
nothing's
how
ever
are you?
free.
Exactly. Yeah, no, Walt Disney charged $1 for parking in the 50s, and it's only gone up since then. So you can blame him. But you're the eternal optimist. I'm sure when we get to our record or our game predictions, you're going to pick them to win. How are you feeling after the London debacle? Because it was a terrible game to watch. It was also a really terrible game to lose. Because it's different than the Cowboys game or the Bills game. Like, they didn't play well. The defense showed up, but the offense was probably had their worst outing of the season. They were completely played down to their competition. It felt like a kitchen sink effort defense, and they still lost. So do you think there's going to be a hangover, I guess, from that? I guess is going to be my first point in that regard, where it's like, I don't think the Jets are going to check out, but like is there a way this defense is still hungover from the way they lost in London? Is I guess my first question for you.
I could see what you mean by that, and for sure it's a possibility. I mean, I can't sit here anymore and say anything is not a possibility, right? Like we've already explored unknown depths. We're in the caverns, we're in the sub basements here, and like I always say to you, like there is no bottom, right? Like every time you think you're at the worst, it can get worse. It can always get worse. And so I'm not going to sit here and say that that's not a possibility. It really is, especially if people are starting to feel like, hey, this could be my last game here. I might be getting shipped out soon. Maybe I want to protect myself today. Maybe I don't want to get hurt because I think I'm going to a Super Bowl team at some point. And I'm not trying to indict anybody with that, but everything is a possibility, right? So could they come off a heavy week of travel? You come back here, you think you're going to win that game, and they blow it at the end, and there could be blame game happening between defense and offense again, which I would say that would be a crazy thing to happen this year because the defense had been a pretty big letdown. So for them in their first really good performance to feel let down by the offense would be a little wild. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a real possibility that they come out and just lay another stinker today.
Yeah, I think we should also make the point out a lot of teams, when they play an international game, in London specifically, Brazil one's a little different, but when you play a game in Europe, they normally designate the next week to be your bye week, and the Jets declined. They said, no, we don't want that. They have 3 more games now. Carolina, Cincy, 2 more games. Carolina, Cincy, them the bye, and then obviously Cleveland is after the bye. So this coaching staff or the franchise as a whole chose not to have this be the bye week, wanting to play this game, and they're getting a Carolina team who's feeling themselves, for lack of a better word. Like, Carolina hasn't been 500 in October, and it might be David Tepper's entire tenure. Like, it's a very, very long, like, strenuous time period for the Panthers. Panthers don't always get grouped in like the Browns or the Lions or the Jets or the Raiders or the Commanders, pre-new ownership. But the Panthers, since Tepper on the team, have been deplorable. I think they're like 34 and 85, if memory serves. Like, they are not a good team. They haven't been. And, Bryce Young, I don't think has world on fire this year. But O'Dowd's had 2 big weeks. That defense is really stopping the run. They're starting to play better. Dave Canales is a young coach, trying to make his name in this league. And I don't think the Panthers are good by any stretch. I think the Panthers are a threat to win 7 games by any stretch. But if you're going to lay an egg, they'll beat you, and they can beat you bad. Like, they're a team you have to take serious.
Yeah, so they haven't had a winning record since before 2017, I think. And in that stretch,
Pepper Bowl team in 2019, I think it was.
Yeah, and in that stretch, they've only won 7 games. So I consider 7 games kind of like being on the cusp of a winning season. They've only won 7 games twice. The Jets have won 7 games 3 times in that same stretch, right? So I'm not, glass houses here, right? I'm not saying anything, but like the Carolina Panthers have been just as bad as we have for a really long time. And it feels like, I think Bryce Young has looked better at the end of last year and at parts of the beginning of this year, but it feels like they might have whiffed on that pick a little bit. And yes, they are playing okay this year. They're 3-3. They're third in their division. They've given up more points than they've scored. So I think a little bit is, that like they pulled the game out at the end. They had a big comeback in one of the games. So I'm not sitting here saying I'm scared of the Panthers. Like, they're a weak organization like we are, and they have a lot of the same problems that we have. They have a coach who isn't he the addicted to porn guy coach?
No, Dave Canales wrote a book. I think you're thinking of Josh McCown. So do not enter our king like that.
No,
Dave Canales.
I know McCown, but I thought Canales in addition to.
No. Dave Canales and his wife wrote a book about how him cheating on her relentlessly actually improved their marriage.
Okay.
Get that right. And for Dave Canales, let's put the link to the book in the description of the podcast episode. Maybe we'll do that, depending if the Jets win or lose tonight. Who knows? But yes, that did happen. So, yeah, he's like on the Arlovsky. I'll call it like a 7.5. But also, I had to pin this comment from QCOD Jet fan. This must be how sex workers feel. Been used so much for years, and I feel numb and dead inside. That's kind of how it feels when you're going in year 10, winning more than 7 games. So I kind of get that. I
for sure get that, and I would say as myself, like it's becoming it is a punchline. It's not becoming. It is a punchline at this point. Like that, I'm going to pick them to win every week. I won't bury the lead. Like, I'm going to do it again just for the bit at this point. I'm going to keep doing it until they win. So
I want you one week to say no, and then they actually win, which would just be so funny. It's just like
that's what I'm afraid of exposing myself to. I can't let that happen. So I won't let that happen.
It's like the meme where he's like hacking away and the diamonds are so close, but he gives up.
Yeah.
That's literally you.
So I would say, like, even for me, with how optimistic I am, I think the way I feel today is like, do I see the path? Do I see how they could win today? Yes. If they lose, will I be hurting about it later? Like, probably not. I think, like, emotionally, I've gotten to the place where I'm like, man, like this team really blows, dude. And it's really not fun to watch. And I think, and I'll say the same for a win. Like, I don't think I'll go crazy if they win today. I think it's just, okay, like, cool.
Yeah.
Right.
You build on it. Yeah. It's like more of like a wait and see. I think the next 2 games before the bye are massive for this regime, for the coaching staff in general, where it's like, hey, can you win? Can you competitive in the other game, or can you win both games? God forbid. And show, like, it took 6 weeks. It took longer than people wanted. We've made some grave mistakes, but we've gone to the drawing board. We've seen what errors that we're making, and we're going to fix this. And we're going to show that the second half of the season is going to be different. Because if they lose the next 2 games, and even if they beat Cleveland coming out of the bunch, if they lose the next 2 games, I'm certainly not picking them to do so, especially given their track coming out of a bye. I don't know what you're selling yourself on. I really don't. Like, we think the roster is overrated. This quarterback class is starting to play better, but rooting for a draft pick is something you want to do, and I think either of us want to do at this point. Like, what is your selling point for bringing this regime back if they start 0-8 or they start 1-10? Oh, Woody doesn't want to pay them to not coach for 4 years. That's a good enough reason.
Yeah, I mean, geez, man, that's a tough question to answer. I would like. So there's all the stock answers, right? The stock answers are like, you don't do that. You need continuity. You don't want to.
No one's going to take the job if you do that.
Right. So there's all those, but I feel like in a 15-year playoff drought, I think we might be beyond those anymore. And even if we aren't, right? Even if they do still make logical sense and they are still really salient points, because some of them are, right? Like it's not unfair to say that it's crazy to throw out an entire coaching staff with what we think now is a pretty bad roster, right?
Yeah,
it's not crazy to say that you should give them 2 years to try to turn it around. Even though there are people out there that will say, look at the Jaguars, right? Even though the Jaguars are getting smacked around a little bit today. Like, look what the Jaguars did in a year. There are teams that turn it around in a year. There are teams every year in the NFL that finish in the bottom of their division, and then the next year they're in the playoffs, right? And so it shouldn't take this long to turn around. But with some of the rot that we've seen with this team and this organization that I think is beyond just the roster, beyond the coaching staff, and it extends upwards into management and office workers and staff and ownership, like that, I think takes time to turn around. And so while I understand that it's a flimsy case, I think you just have to go back to that chestnut of like, hey, like this is a really, really difficult job. And if somebody could come in and flip the Jets around in a year, great. But like, who is that guy?
Yeah.
Like, who is that? Right. Because we've taken 3 or 4 swings at identifying that guy and we haven't done it yet. And that now the counterpoint to that is, well, you gave Bowles 4 years. You gave Saleh 4 years. You didn't give Gase 4 years, but you didn't need to. We didn't need to see that, right? So I think
honestly, giving Gase years was like all right, and also Gase got to make it to the end.
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe he made it to the end of his second year. Yeah,
they didn't pull the plug on that. So like there was patience there, and if people don't want to admit.
I think to go back to how you opened this conversation, right, is like the next couple games are really important. I think it's not just the next couple games. It's kind of like there's going to be points. There's going to be spikes for the rest of the season where we're like, okay, this one really matters, because whether it's you have an advantage in this game or you have a disadvantage in this game or whatever it is, we're going to start looking at the micro of things and saying, hey, like, Carolina doesn't play well on the road. Can you win against Carolina when they're coming to you and when they're kind of riding high and maybe they're overlooking you? And like things like that are really going to matter. And so it's going to be the little things from here on out, because they're not making the playoffs. They're not winning division. They're not competing with, Buffalo and New England. So it's going to be the details at this point. And if they can pile up enough details, right? The old saying, like, shavings make a pile. If you can pile up enough good details that people can at least go into the offseason and be like, you know what? Okay, like there was something there towards the end. It took a little while to see it at first, but there's something there that we can at least feel positive about. If we go into the offseason feeling like this guy can't make an in-game coaching decision and he can't make any adjustments and he chokes when the clock is low and he uses his timeouts too early, if there's nothing positive to hold on to, it's indefensible at that point.
Yeah, like your question, and I said this is I want to get to Jeffrey's point in a sec, but what I will say is your question before of like, who's the guy who can actually flip this around in year one? I know that doesn't sound great, and people could say like the options when they're switching these reports, like who the head coaching candidates are this offseason, and the Arthur Smith, Matt Nagy, like, those kind of things. And you're like, and you want to fire Aaron? Well, the answer could just be like, I don't know who it is, but it's not Aaron Glenn. And I don't have to keep pretending it is or keep up the charade if this is how it's going to continue. So, that can be a real answer at the point where it's just like, we can hire a guy and he can be wrong, but firing him doesn't make it a wrong decision.
Yeah, no. And you're right, dude. And it frustrates me that you're right. But like, it's kind of the same argument. There's a lot of people who say that you should draft a quarterback every single year, no matter what, at some point, not necessarily with a premium pick, not necessarily with a high pick, but like, you should draft a quarterback every single year until you have the guy. And even when you do have the guy, you should probably be trying to restock the cupboard a little bit in the back end. And hey, can I get a really good backup that maybe I can trade at some point, or just in case we go down with an injury, something like that. And so it's kind of that same line of thinking of like, just keep taking shots at the dartboard. But I do think with the Jets, there's like, there's exhaustion around, because every time there's a new coaching staff that gets brought in, there's this ramping up period where everybody feels really, really positive during the offseason. And then when it comes out and it sputters at the gate like this, which, by the way, is kind of something new for us. Generally, in the past, we've seen a bounce from a new coach. And with Saleh, it was a little different because it took that defense a little while to get going. But once we started to see it, we were like, oh, okay. Like, we got something here, right? So we have generally gotten like bounces from new coaching staffs, and there's a lot of emotional energy of the fans to like ramp up. And fan emotion should not matter in this decision at all. But it's just like, it's a tough thing to keep asking an organization to do, because it's not just the fans who are going through that ramp up period. It's everybody in the building has to do that, right? And so, but if you know beyond a shadow of a doubt that this isn't the guy, like, at the end of the day, you're right. Just lop it off, move on, try again. Yeah,
that's how it has to be. And I guess the one thing I want to talk about for Jeffrey's point about, I'd rather draft a veteran than draft a quarterback. If this regime is here and they want to trade back and do that and acquire assets, I'm honestly more comfortable doing that than developing a rookie quarterback, because nothing I have seen so far from this regime has given me confidence that they can nurture a rookie quarterback and give him all the tools he needs to succeed. So, and you can call it cowardice, you can call it scared that like, do you opt out of the decision and say that like, that's not how you find your franchise quarterback. That's a counter argument. I'm not going to go against that, but if you just ask me how I feel at the moment, I don't want to see this current regime, for what they've shown me through 6 games, to be in charge of a young quarterback's development. Like, I've made this point in the podcast numerous times. It came to a head this week. My biggest fear is the Jets or the Titans right now. They took one of Moore, Simpson, Mendoza, whoever quarterback it is. Nothing got better. They were bad enough to be able to pick one of those guys, and they look lost out there. And the coaching staff doesn't have answers, and Woody pulls the plug. And we're sitting here, a year from now, 1-5, let's say, and who's going to save this kid because of all the damage that he's already taken in his short career? Like, that's my biggest fear.
So I'll be upfront with you. I'm kind of trying to trap you a little bit here.
Okay.
In that scenario, right? So everybody stays. Stays. And they start out 1-5 next year with a rookie quarterback, and they fire him week 6. Who is the interim?
What coordinator do they hire in the offseason? Or so in this scenario, Wilks is the
Wilks stays.
I may not be doing this podcast if Wilks is here. It's probably, he's been in there before.
Okay. Let's say he's gone. And it's a first time D coordinator who's the same age as Tanner Engstrand.
Okay, so they hire like a young gun. Maybe they promote Aaron Curry. Maybe they hire someone from outside the system. Do we have a veteran offensive coach on staff? I gotta go to the Jets offensive coach staff.
So here's what I'm getting at is, obviously you don't trust Tanner Engstrand enough to make him. This isn't a knock on him. It's more just let me run through this coaching staff, assuming nothing changes. But yeah, keep going. I'm going to look through this. I guess what I'm getting at is, do you trust Tanner Engstrand to develop a young quarterback, right? And I don't know if we know enough at this point. I don't know if we have enough, but I will say that when we were going through the film on Flight School this past week, and we actually got a couple comments kind of alluding to the same thing, it was like, hey, it kind of feels like Tanner Engstrand is doing a really good job scheming, and Justin Fields is he's a black hole. Like, he's sucking everything into the pocket, and that's where everything's dying, and we're not even getting a chance to see it, but it looks like the scheme is there. And so if I reframe it a little bit around, like, it's not necessarily this whole thing, it's Tanner Engstrand working with this young quarterback, is that something that you can at least talk yourself into feeling comfortable about?
No. I like Tanner Engstrand. I think he can call plays. I think his design of his offense is routinely, for what he's working with, fairly solid, but that has nothing to do with quarterback development. Like, also, not for nothing, they didn't develop Jared Goff when he was in Detroit. Like,
but they schemed for him.
They salvaged him, but they have to develop him. It's two different things.
It is, but so we're getting into like a really nuanced conversation here, but the damage that you're talking about, if you can scheme around it, you can at least insulate from damage.
Correct.
Until there's a better situation.
Correct. But my point, and this is not a Fields argument when I say this, there's a chance between the years a rookie quarterback could be as lost as Fields some weeks. So like you can scheme it up for like Justin Fields at this point. We're in year 5. He is what he is. Like Justin Fields is a good backup quarterback who's athletic enough that in a pinch he's probably going to be able to win a team like a game or two if they need to go to him, just because his legs are so important. And if they don't have on him, like Justin Fields week 1, the Steelers didn't really know what the Jets were going to do, and they took advantage of it. But as more teams have gotten film on him in this regard, it took a month, but we're starting to see they know what he can do, they know what he can't, and they're pressing all the pressure points. With a rookie quarterback, they eventually will get better, and they eventually will hopefully absorb the knowledge. But if you're Engstrand, like, I don't know if he can be able to, go through that storm with him. And also, particularly speaking, the thing that scares me, I think, the most about this scenario is that whoever they take, I don't want them to start week 1.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean.
And the problem is that if the coaching staff is feeling pressure and is feeling this heat, like let's be real. Is there a more likely chance than not they hit the break glass in case of emergency to save our jobs and play the child? Like, I think that would happen. Dale did it.
So I'm playing devil's advocate at this point. I'm just arguing with you to argue. So please don't back me into a corner about
which is like 40% of this podcast normally. But yeah,
exactly. So like, please don't back me into a corner about like this is how I really feel. But Aaron Glenn hasn't felt the pressure to yank Fields and put in Tyrod Taylor. Is there a chance that he's just like, yeah, no, like I'm gonna do what's right? And for whatever reason, he thinks keeping Justin Fields in is right now. But if he's convicted about having a rookie quarterback sit for, let's call it 10, 12 weeks, where
like let's just do like most bye weeks, and say the Jets don't have an early week 4 bye week. Let's say their bye week is this year. It's between weeks 8 and 10. Doesn't play for the bye. That's the plan. Going in the season, like, hey, we're going to do this.
They're 1-8, like they were in Detroit, and he keeps bringing up Detroit in every press conference. And next year is a lot of the same as this year. We're just watching, whether it's Fields or another veteran, like we're just watching the same thing over and over again. And he's getting the questions, and he's saying, "Hey, in Detroit we were 1-8 year 2, and then we rattled off 8 straight." And like it's just the same thing over and over and over again. Like, does that make you feel better specifically about the thing that you're worried about, which is pulling in a child to play too early because you have to save your job?
It would, but it's more in this hypothetical scenario. Yes, if I could be guaranteed that they don't play until then, and then we can just evaluate them on the second half of that season. But my point being is like, and this is something, and this is the last point, because I want to get to the Panthers game because we've gotten along a bit of a tangent here. My hope is that this regime, because it's so toxic, like barring them like literally winning like 6 games and going like 6-4 to end the year. 10 games left, right? Or 11 games left. Let's say they go 6-5 in the year, and they still, through tiebreakers, wherever, they still draft a quarterback and everything like that. Like, I don't think this regime, given how toxic it is already after 6 games, can in any way sell a fan base that if they don't make the playoffs next year, they deserve to keep their job. Like, I know Aaron Glenn has your contract. I know this, like, you can put it in. Zach does a great job at The Athletic. This is not a shot at him in any way, shape, or form. Like, we can call it now. This was as like a rebuild or builds like the Lions. The fan base doesn't have patience for that, especially when you insult the intelligence of the fan base weekly in press conferences. Like, if the Jets go, let's say 3-14 this year, and let's say they double their win total and they go 6 next year, they're gone. Like, there's nothing you do to sell them, this fan at this point. Like, the playoff drought exists. How things have existed, like, it's not getting less toxic. When it comes to this, they normally get more toxic.
Yeah, just the Lions of it all is what complicates this, because he's saying the Lions in the press conferences, and we're tired of hearing it, but you better believe he's saying it to Woody too, right?
Yep.
And Woody is watching the Lions do what they do on a week in, week out basis now. And if he is able to finish year 2 on a positive note where the Lions did, but they missed the playoffs, that's the scenario that I could see that he gets a year 3.
If the Lions defense continues to look this good and looks like they are in a better unit for the next 2 years, I think it looks for Glenn. But we'll put a pin in this. We're going to have this conversation probably for the next 18 months at the rate we're going. So all right, for Carolina, we can do like the last 30 minutes for this. This is the game preview. Do you think they got Rico Dowdle? Like, let's go granular, big picture. Rico Dowdle has been the best running in the NFL the past 2 weeks. It is massive revenge game against the Cowboys. I think he's the first undrafted player ever to have over 200 all-purpose yards in back-to-back weeks. I don't know Chuba Hubbard's back. I think this is going to be Dowdle's backfield today. I like how Sauce matches up with Tet. It's kind of the receiver that Sauce does well with. Those bigger guys who aren't as 50, aren't, as movers, just those guys who try to like out muscle and bully you. Sauce normally does well with those kinds of receivers. So I think Bryce is going to have a ton to do in the pass game. It's really going to come down to me like, can you not get embarrassed the way Javonte Williams embarrassed you with Rico Dowdle? And can the run play with some pride?
Yeah, I mean, I everybody looked good on the defense last week, including Michael Clemens, but I think they did a good job of bottling up J.K. Dobbins last week. Bo Nix didn't kill them with his legs. He escaped a couple times and it was a little troublesome, but he didn't kill them. Yeah, I mean, I guess I come back to like what would lead me to believe that they're going to slow down Rico Dowdle with the way he's looked. Like it's not like we're like, oh yeah, no, well you can't get past the Jets, right? Like I don't care that you've gone for 200 all-purpose in back-to-back weeks and you're fantasy RB1 and all that stuff, right? Like, well now you're running into the Jets. No, I'm not going to sit here and say that. I think you probably, not that you. I think you're probably going to shade your defense towards stopping Rico Dowdle and maybe you slow him down a little bit because you don't think that Bryce Young can beat you with his arm. And you just, you stack the box a little bit, you clog things up in the middle and you say, hey, like you said, Sauce is going to have a pretty good matchup against Tet. And we think that, we're going to dare you to beat us with Bryce Young. And if that happens, then so be it. Right. So I don't think you're going to see him go over 200 all purpose this week or anything like that, because I think he's going to be the number one key on the defense. But do I think that they're going to hold him to the production they held J.K. Dobbins to last week? No, not that either. So I think it probably lands somewhere in the middle, and you're probably going to see Bryce Young have more attempts than he has in the last few weeks, right? Because they're going to try to force that to happen. Yeah,
I think that's a very good point in that regard, where they're going to key on. But, I mean, the run defense looks different with Jermaine back.
Yep.
It's fair to say how impactful he is as an edge defender. Going from Jermaine Johnson to Michael Clemens is a significant downgrade. I think he plays with too much pass and too much pride to think like his head's – there's been a lot of trade rumors for this week. Like, we can't ignore that. In that regard, it's per rap sheet this morning. They think he has a better chance to be moved than Breece Hall, which took me back a little bit, I'll be honest. But I don't think the player I have to worry about making business decisions or checking out. Jermaine Johnson was literally like a guy who played junior college, like that he's lucky to be here, but and grinded his way to get here. I just don't think Jermaine Johnson ever play that way, whether Jets or for some other team. That's not how he's wired. But that's going to be a huge point. But do you agree? AG strategy, this is our offense. This is our defense. You either fit or you don't. We are going through the process to find guys who fit. Do you know who this sounds like? Yeah,
exactly. And not only that, not only does it sound like Gase too, by the way.
That is Gase. Yeah. We're not being subtle.
Yeah. So it's frustrating because what we heard when he got here was we're going to scheme around what our players are good at. Right. And so I think in an ideal world, what we all would have liked to see is you're going to determine who are the good players, first of all. Right. So Tony Adams out, Malachi Moore in. Brandon Stevens has looked better the last couple weeks, but we all want to see AZ Thomas. So like we would have liked to see that and then be like, okay, what do these guys do really well? And that's what we were told was going to happen. And that's not what has happened.
Like there's guys who there's like, and Tony Adams fits this, and Clemens fits this description. Carter less so. I think it's more of a scheme fit. Like there are players who are just actively bad that tend their scheme. I'm not holding Steve Wilkes to the fire because he can't scheme around Michael Clemens' ability. Like that's not the point at all. What we're trying when we say this in our offense, but like who improved on the Jets defense?
Michael Clemens last week.
Yeah, but like this is my point. Like Disney be like Salah made players. Salah like they love to tell you about the dumpster fire that they inherited, and they was so hard, and they were left with nothing, and they needed 3 years just to be able to clean out the mess that was left for them. They loved pushing the narrative, but like there are players on the offense that like improved under coaching staff that were holdovers. Like it's not like they flipped the roster over, because it's eventually what happens. But on the defensive side of the ball, like I don't think Quinn's been unleashed in a different way.
No,
Sauce one was good, but Sauce's best football still played under Salah and under Ulbrich. Sherwood's gone in the tank. Quincy Williams got hurt early on, but like I don't think he looked like he was a better fit in this defense. Will McDonald, like I said, they trust him to be a full-time player. Michael Carter is obviously worse. Tony Adams is he's going to suck whoever's the coach is, so that's not fair to put on them. But that's kind of where it's at, where it's like if your scheme is not enabling these guys to play well, like maybe you got to find a new scheme.
Yeah. I'll give you my good and my bad take on this. My good take, trying to put on the rose-colored glasses, is that I don't think Glenn really believes this. I think this is a way to, in the media, buy yourself some time and say that. And you can
to Briggs, Bradley, and Phillips as like, hey, these are my guys, and my guys are playing well, and the narrative I'm going to spin because, and I can point to examples of that. Like he can do that. Like where he's not being like unjust. He says, look at those players that we've acquired, they've played.
Correct. So I don't think he really believes this. I think this is just like nonsense that's being thrown out there to buy a little bit of time and say without saying that, like, hey, some of these dudes really suck. And I can't play with them. But you can't say that, obviously. So you're going to say this. The problem I have. So for that reason, I'm not going to overreact to it because, like, I don't think he actually believes it. But it is annoying because it's a direct contradiction to something that you said when you got here, which is like, we're going to find the strengths of the players. We're going to build around that. We're going to coach around that. So it's a little frustrating from that standpoint, but I'm not going to overreact to it because I just don't think it's true. And I don't think he believes it.
Yeah. Like, I think speaking about foundations or thinking about identity in that regard, I'm not saying he's like full of shit, but like that stuff you see in press conferences.
Yeah.
Like when you're winning and players you acquire are doing well, you can point back to like you point back like, this is our culture. It's like at the end of the day, culture is rooted in winning.
Yep.
Like everything you do makes sense. Everything you can justify when you win. Everything you do will get picked apart and chastised and nitpicked when you lose.
Yep. And press conferences are very much like, they're like a juicer, right? Like you put all this stuff in and maybe you get like this much value out of it, but you really have to like work to parse through all that because so much of it is complete nonsense. And I'm not saying that they're useless. Like I don't agree with the notion that like, oh, I don't watch press conferences because they're stupid. There are things to learn in there. There are things that you can pull out of there, but you got to be really discerning about what you're hearing and what's the truth and what's not, because you're not getting a ton out of any press conference. You're getting very, very little, and you have to figure out what it is and then throw away all the trash at the end. So again, that's just one that, again, I just don't think he believes it. So
yeah. And I said, that's a good point by Master. No one pick apart Aaron Glenn's press. If this is 3-3, no one is picking apart how snippy he is with media or how, like, in that regard, or how he gets taken aback by criticism. When you're if you are just playing competitive football or winning at least every game, you're not gonna get the same blowback to when you're in 6 and you're gonna be, snippy and I think you're above criticism. You definitely get put under the microscope more. But let's get some callers in. I actually want to see what the fans have to say in this. I want to get the temperature of this fan at this point to see, like, is everyone out? Are we fully embracing the tank? Was Mendoza, Simpson, and Moore Saturday impressive enough where, like, you don't want to win by? I really want to see where the fan base is at with this. But I guess I want to talk about before we get into bets and our predictions is the Panthers last 2 weeks, offense could not run the ball, and the Cowboys could not run the ball. Their run defense has been stout. Derek Brown, one of the better run defenders in the league. It all starts with him in the middle, and they took a more disciplined run game as they got week after week last year. The Jets have Garrett Wilson today, and Justin Fields is their quarterback. And I think tendency-wise, we know what the Jets want to do, and it's playing into Carolina's strength. If you're Tanner Engstrand, how are you trying to build a semblance of a pass offense when our quarterback's overall on FanDuel for passing yards at the moment is 163.5 yards?
Yeah, I think I am pretty much scheming every single play we run today to go to the boundaries. I'm not interested in running up the middle at all. I don't want to see any Breece Hall 2-yard dives today in the name of establishing the run game. I don't care. I want everything to look the same. I want you to run everything out of the same formation, and I want everything to be student body left or student body right, and then different actions off that, right? So every pass should be everybody's moving out to the left, Justin Fields is rolling out to the right, and maybe it's a designed run for him, or maybe there's a crosser coming that he's trying to hit, right? So I'd like everything to be spreading out and trying to disperse the middle of the field to clear it open, and then get all of the skill players on actions out left and out right, try to open things up and then work things from there. And I think it can still be run heavy, but it can't be a traditional run game where, hey, we're just trying to like zone scheme open, like none of that, right? So it has to look different today. And I think you're going to have to really heavily rely on like disguises and everything looking the same. You're going to have to confuse Carolina's defense in order to have a little bit of success today. And that means don't just do the same dribble over and over and over again, right? Make it look weird, trick their eyes, make them bite on things and try to open things up that way. This is very much going to be if you have success on offense today, it's going to be a credit to Tanner Engstrand being able to scheme something up. What do you think?
Yeah, I think funny enough, because I know Rodgers, of course, has been back in the news this week after he lost to Cincinnati, but he looked good in the first, so people got their tweets off. I think you should look what the Steelers do. The Steelers' ADOT offense for Rodgers is very low. And yes, Aaron Rodgers is a better quick game thrower than Justin Fields. I'm not trying to pretend like he's not, but make the Carolina Panthers tackle. Make their first tackle, whether it's, quick actions, whether it's, little dump offs to the tight ends. Like Stewart should be active today. We don't have the inactives yet. So I'm sure I'll be mad about that in about 5 to 30 minutes when he isn't, but throw a couple tunnel screens, throw a couple short passes, just make them tackle, get Arian Smith in motion, see if he can make a guy miss. Like the Jets aren't going to have explosive plays. Like the receivers can't get open, like without Garrett. Like even with Garrett, like besides him, when you can really run in on him, it's hard to them to this offense to generate explosive passing plays. And we don't think they're gonna be able to do it in the run. Don't give Fields the option. Don't let Fields go through get to his third read. It's one read, tuck it and run. Get his legs involved in the running game as a quarterback, as a runner, and just see if you can pummel Mason Taylor with targets. Like, yep. I don't think John Reynolds is going to do anything. Lazard, if he even is an absolute stiff. Tyler Johnson can't body at this point. Arian Smith is real receiver. Like the Jets aren't going to score that many points unless the defense gives them a short field. The defense chips in, which is probably how they win this game. Is they're going to force turnovers, which I know that one last week, so we can finally stop the graphic about how many 1,000 minutes they've gone without forcing a turnover. But that's I don't think the Jets are going to score more than 21 points today. I'd be pleasantly surprised if they did, given Carolina matches up and given how the offense played last week. But
so we do actually have the inactives. They're out. So it's Garrett Wilson, Michael Carter, Quantez Stiggers, Cam Jones, Esa Pole, Jelani Woods, and Tyler Barron are all inactive. That means Stone Smart is in.
Okay. Stone Smart is in. Give me a Stone Smart tunnel screen. Give me a Stone Smart end around. Like whatever. I'll go full uncut gems. Stone Smart prop you got because that's what I would say. It's just like so not a great player, so it's not going to change the offense. You have no one else with that skill set, and it's more magnified without Garrett.
Yeah, agreed. I think you do need. I will push back on Reynolds a little bit. Reynolds had a fine game last week. He caught a couple balls and that's all you need from Josh Reynolds in a normal scenario, right? Yeah. Today is a little different because Garrett Wilson's not there, so you probably need a little bit more from Josh Reynolds today.
Okay.
But with Josh Reynolds, it's not about Josh Reynolds' capability. It's about getting him the ball, right? Like, he's a sure-handed veteran wide receiver, right? He's not going to pile up a bunch of yak. He's not going to break open deep down the field and catch a deep ball. He's not going to do any of that. But can you find him on 5 to 7 hard-breaking out routes or curl routes during the game that just serves a purpose of opening the defense up a little bit and backing them off? Can you do that, right? And if you can utilize a good, reliable veteran wide receiver for that, then he's done his job, right? And so I do think that you need to get Reynolds involved, and I agree. It's yes and right, yes and Stone Smart, yes and throw a deep ball to Arian Smith. Like, figure out ways to start to get Arian Smith really involved in the offense, because as we've said over and over again, you can't do the wacky stuff with him until you establish him as a real offensive threat. And so figure out a way to do that. So I think there's no answer to who's going to pick up Garrett Wilson's slack today. It's everybody. Everybody has to do a little bit more because you're not replacing that.
Like I said, my point is more to the fact that when Garrett's on the field, Pat Surtain, or who you saw last week, or Jason Horn is going to go to him. When he's on the field, Josh Reynolds now has to deal with that matchup. He gets treated number one option, which is just not what his game is. So that's more why I don't think it's really happened on the stat sheet today. But got to find a way to go coach around.
Yeah. And I don't think JC Horn's going to be following Josh Reynolds. I think at this point, it's more of a where's JC Horn on the field, and don't throw that direction. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not sure this is true, Amart. I think they have thrown a deep ball to Smith this season. They've definitely run the routes. I don't know. Has Justin Fields actually gotten it out of his hand? I'm not sure. I think there was at least one that I can remember.
Yeah, he has one longer catch in reserves. His stats of the season are nothing to write home about, but I want to say he's made one longish catch that was on the sideline, at least 15 yards. But yeah, no, they have not there's a lack of 30-yard air. The air yards, his targets have been nothing to be a hold about. He is 4 for 24 for catches for 4 yards this season. So that
which is frustrating because Fields can throw a deep ball. He can do it.
Yeah. That's the part of the offense where I'm just like, you guys got to figure something. I don't think that was a yak play. So, but that's probably what I was thinking of. But yeah, Arian Smith, I don't know. Yeah, deep one that went out of bounds. That's a fair point.
Yeah. All right, so let's get into some numbers. Jets are giving up 31.4 per game at home, 130 rushing yards allowed per game. Panthers are 4-1 against the spread. They're 1.5 point favorites this week. And based on a model that I ran through AI, the over has a 60% probability today.
They're an over team. Yeah. Even when they got blown up by the Patriots, I think they lost. Patriots scored over 40 points, and then they had 14, so that hit the over. I think the Dolphins game went over. The Falcons game when they beat them 30-0, obviously was an under. I think they went over last week against Dallas. They normally their defense can stop the run, but they're susceptible through the pass, and they can put points on them. Are the Jets the team to exploit that matchup? I do not know, but Carolina can score in this. If the Jets get a similar effort from the defense that they got last week, and the offense does not turn the ball over, and they are able to if they get into the red zone, to not settle for field goals, that's how they keep this game close. That's how they can there were a chance in the fourth quarter. Because Carolina's a young team. There's a very good chance Carolina reads their press clippings this week. Mm-hmm. All the vibes are high. 2-0 since the Meow Mix podcast, disbanded. Like all those memes are running around. Like they may have not been 500 this late into a season under Tepper in like a while, if at all. And they lay an egg themselves. And you get the Carolina Panthers C+ effort, C- effort, even if that. But if the Jets don't show up, it's not going to matter. And that's going to be a testament to the coaching staff, where it's like, hey, like last week's loss, I think is the worst one of the season. Like I know the Steelers week 1 was tough, but they still played well. And you could really pin it on like Gibson, just like, hey, if you have a kick returner who doesn't fumble, like you probably win that game. Buffalo are a better team. Like they're not going to lose that game. Tampa, they came back. Dallas, it was not a good matchup for them. And they played like it. But this was the loss that I think bothered the fan base the most, is because a team actually played down to their level of competition. That was a D game for the Broncos, and you still lost it. Like that's the point. Like if we're gonna start where like teams are not taking you seriously, teams think they don't have to, get all teams. Sorry, I was just laughing. If teams think they can beat you going half speed and then they start doing it week after week, that's a terrible sign for this regime and this team.
Yeah, 100%. This is a winnable game. And as we've said a couple of times, like these next 3, Carolina, Cincinnati, and then Cleveland out of the bye, like you have to figure out a way to win 2 of them. And it's not even for playoffs at this point. It's just for pride. It's for pride, dude. Like, and this comment, hire John Gruden, the username hire John Gruden with the John Gruden avatar. This team stinks. Glenn stinks. Got me laughing really well. Where's PSU Joe today, dude?
Do they lost yesterday? They are, I think 3-4. I think they started 3-0. They've lost 4 in a row. They have a bye week, and then they have to go to Columbus to play Ohio State after losing to Iowa, to Northwestern, to UCLA, and to Oregon. So it's not a good football season for our guy PSU Joe. I think he knew the Jets might be this bad. I don't think in his wildest dreams, given how Penn State was talked about over the summer, that he thought Penn State would be this bad. So our guy's probably down bad. So I wish him the best if he is listening somewhere out there. Joe, it's okay. We are very used to losing, very used to being depressed. So you can come here and get it out, man.
We miss you, Joe.
Oh, did you see the comment from Mac Nova that Zach Wilson got beaten out by Quinn Ewers for QB2?
Yes. I was actually in an argument with my brother last night, and he was just like, I'm refusing to watch. It hasn't been this bad in years. And I was like, man, like, listen, like, I know last week was bad. I'm not trying to excuse anything that happened last week. I'm really not. Like, that was terrible. No. I was in the stadium watching, dude. Like, I know. I was right there. And I flew across the world to do it. So, like, I know, dude. I'm not trying to excuse it. But I think on the whole, has this been all that different from Zach Wilson years? No, not really.
No, it's fundamentally different because they didn't have a rookie quarterback in 2021, but is a lot like the 2021 season. It's just the Titans game, the bounces went their way in the way that the Steelers game and the Denver game, they kind of lost themselves because their coach was scared. Like, let's call it what it is. You can't have a 2-minute drill. You can't have a 2-minute drill, literally run out the clock on you because you're afraid to give a team that wasn't exactly moving the ball back before half, and the way you handle the 2-minute drill at the end, and when you have a chance to go win the game, you can't really excuse that. So,
yeah. Where do we go from here, man?
I like Keith's comment, to be honest with you. Tribe and Led Zeppelin 4 in the background. Let's go. Like, this is that's a fantastic comment. Great eye by Keith.
I try to move them around to depend on which one's visible, depending on what I'm feeling lately. But so I guess we'll get into some betting stuff here. We still have a ton of people watching, which is great with an 0-6 team, and we very, very much appreciate it. I certainly understand not wanting to call in at this point.
Yeah.
What can we say now? What can we say at this point? But let's get into some betting stuff. I know you texted me before we started, and you said, I don't have any bets because both of these teams are dog shit.
Yes, exactly. I don't want to bet. I don't have like a good feel about anything today. Like, I was thinking, like, hey, like, is this week Mason Taylor gets his first touchdown? And I'm just like, what if the Jets don't score a touchdown? Like, and then I'm just like,
I do have some breaking news, some really good news.
Yes.
I tweeted PSU Joe. I said, where are you? And he said, I'm teaching my 16-year-old to drive. I'm calling in at 11:52. So we'll see him soon.
God bless Joe.
I think this is the second time Brandon has commented Mendoza in all caps. I think we need to talk about Mendoza. Let's do a little preview of the college quarterbacks from what you saw this weekend. We're going to do obviously long form on Tuesday, but
yeah, I guess quick synopsis. The three guys that we think have separated themselves. I think we kind of were hinting at that on the midweek show, and they all belled out on Saturday. Mendoza was excellent against Michigan State. Just looks like he has complete command of the offense. Super duper efficient. He's just a super accurate quarterback. You know, there's nothing like people were gonna have the ceiling versus floor is gonna be the question with him. You know, like, is he Jared Goff? Is that enough? Like, yes, if and I know he's going to get Kirk Cousins comps. I'm just like, yes, if I know it's a sore subject, Kirk Cousins used the Jets to get money from the Vikings, but if Fernando Mendoza was Kirk Cousins, that's the best quarterback play the Jets have seen since Jet. Like, write it in ink.
Let me ask you this. What are you looking for the rest of the season from Mendoza? Because he doesn't really have too many tough games left.
What I'm looking for the less, like, is more just when you're playing a minnow, bury them quickly. Like the way he played against Illinois, the way he played, like, in that regard, where it's just like, just keep being what you are. It's like Oregon fooled him a couple times. The pick six was bad. Keep that efficiency up. And when you play Ohio State, probably in the Big Ten title game, or if you get Oregon gets another shot at you, don't fold in the moment. That's what I want to say. Just keep doing what you're doing. Same thing with Dante Moore, and same thing with Ty Simpson. Like, Ty Simpson's playing all these ranked teams, and he's rising to the moment. And that's what I like seeing. Dante Moore abused Rutgers last night, but he still made some high-level throws doing it. So I just want these guys to continue to – the better the three of these guys play, the better it is for the Jets.
Absolutely. Joe, I'm glad to see you're in the driver's seat and not the passenger seat.
Yeah, I just dropped my daughter off at practice, and I say I dropped her off, but she actually drove an hour for the first time with me in the car just now, and my hair's getting grayer by the minute. But she did good though. So
good.
It can't be any worse than what you're going to experience from 1 to 4 today. So
you know, I'm hoping for the best of things, but I just don't see it. I mean, I think Joe said a couple of shows ago, like, until they actually win, he's not going to predict them to win anymore. And I'm probably subscribing to the same thing at this point. And with Wilson out, that just makes it so much harder. So, you know, it is what it is at this point.
Yeah. What jersey you got on today?
Oh, my Curtis Martin. This
classic.
Is like from. I mean, I bought this in 1999. So, and you know, thank God it still fits. But yeah, one of my favorite players ever.
Yeah, one of the best Jets ever. Yeah, I think that's a fair point. Where, I mean, Paul has a bit that he has to stick to when it comes to picking this team to win. Like, regardless of how he feels in his heart, you know, deep down, we can debate that another day. But yeah, I think that's the point where it's like, if this team isn't winning games with Garrett Wilson, while the level of competition has lowered with Carolina and then with Cincinnati, who did look spunky on Thursday with the win over Pittsburgh in a classic Tomlin letdown game, and then the Browns, who. It's a lot of weird vibes coming out from that franchise at the moment. Things are getting like odd there. This is the time to show, like, can you show progress? Can you show that you're learning from your mistakes? Can you just win a football game? Like, I don't care if Carolina outgains the Jets by 200 yards and they go 1 for 4 on fourth downs and they have a bad turnover and the Jets eke out a 13 win. Like, the Jets are just due just to win a game. Like, can you just show that you can do that? If a team hands you the game like Denver did last week, 2 weeks in a row, can you not hand it back to them? That's
what it's going to take at this point. I mean, we see where we are from a skill position, you know, just level of talent. But it's Carolina, so we should be able to, you know, be competitive with them. And then you have to just show that you can get over that hump and win a game that maybe you shouldn't. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I see you both have the shirts on today because I'm about to order one.
Yes,
Okay.
actually, we have to shout out. I have to jig on the JetHeads Twitter, Paul. I don't know if you can pull this up. Someone was wearing it out in Texas. He tweeted it last night. I have to pull up his username. I did like the tweet on the JetHeads account. But thank you for all the people who've bought a shirt. Thank you for all the people who support the show. Being out in the wild, rocking that is just it. Literally warms our heart. I know a fan went up to Paul in the gym sometime this week, and that will never ever be normal to any of us. So if you guys ever come up to us, apologies for our interactions, for how awkward we be, because it will never become normal to us.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, thank you very much for calling in, Joe. Appreciate you making the time after a long drive, and good luck today.
I'm just
good luck, Joe.
I'm just debating if I'm letting her drive back.
Thanks, Joe. We'll talk to you next week.
You have a great one.
Bye.
What a guy. What a guy. All right. So, yeah, actually, all right. So, do you want to just we got 6 minutes until SNY. Is there any bet that you put through your AI thing you want to throw in? Anything you got from the soul? What are you thinking today?
Yeah, no, mine are coming from the soul today. I didn't do it with AI. I am on the Jets money line. I wanted plus odds. I didn't get it, but I am on the Jets money line. I have my reasons. I'm not gonna say all of them. The Jets, outside of Miami, I think Jets opponents this year are 14-9, 20-10, right? So Jets opponents outside of Miami have a 666 win percentage this year. They've played all good teams. This is Miami's bad. Miami sucks. And like, look, it's a bit, dude. It's a bit, dude.
My favorite line is PSU Joe going, "Give me a bet." Paul says, "Jets my line," and then PSU goes, "Give me a different bet." That's just so perfect.
All right, I will give you a different bet. I have a different one.
Yeah.
I'm on the Jets money line at -108. Here's the parlay, which is way more than I generally try to stick to parlays between like +300 and +500, because I think people that put in insane parlays I just think it's a losing game. But I have Mason Taylor anytime touchdown, Justin Fields 50+ rushing yards, and Josh Reynolds over 2.5 receptions. I'm willing to take Mason Taylor touchdown scorer out of this bet to make it a little bit more reasonable. But as I have it laid out, Mason Taylor touchdown, Justin Fields 50 or more rushing yards, Josh Reynolds over 2.5 receptions. That is plus 1222. So $100 to win $1,200.
Yeah, I don't know if I would take that bet, but hey, Mason Taylor's got to score eventually. He's a good enough player. I can see that happening. On the Carolina side, yeah, I feel like you just have to bet Rico Dowdle to go nuts again at this point. Like, ever 150 rushing yards Rico Dowdle is, just throw that log on the fire. See what it's got. I feel like Jalen Coker coming back, I could see him having a big play too. I mean, this is why we started in the preseason, because they won their first preseason game. So they did win that game. So that's what we're going to claim. I think the Jets are 1-8 or 1-9 since the pregame show started, because they lost the other 2 preseason games. That's the line we're sticking to.
Are people calling it the JetHeads curse?
That's a fair point. It's a fair point. You can't deny it. All right. So official predictions. We know what you're going to say, but what's the score going to be?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the fade logic today. You texted me right before the game and you said, I think this is like an ugly shit fest and blah, 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 blah. It's going to be terrible. I think we're going to get a shockingly normal football game today with a shockingly normal score that appears to be, even though it's not, it will appear to be 2 very normal football teams who are going to score touchdowns. They're going to kick field goals. There's not going to be anything wacky. So I am going to say 24-21 Jets.
Okay. Before I give my prediction, there are 2 hold your nose, take the over games today. Jets Panthers is one of them, and Dolphins Cleveland is the other one. I think Paul is projecting that to happen. He thinks that these teams can actually score points. I just don't believe in the Jets offense. I don't believe in Fields. I think there's an outside chance we see Tyrod in the second half today. I think this is an ugly effort on the Jets' offensive part. I think the defense, this score is going to look more lopsided than it is, because I think the dam breaks at the end. I think Carolina wins 23-10 in a very uneventful game.
23-10. Okay. I'll answer Amart. Arian Smith anytime touchdown line is plus 490 on FanDuel.
Speaking of lighting money on fire, yeah.
If you're interested in that kind of thing.
Yeah, if you have a weird kink, yeah, I don't know if I'm going to bet a Rucker TD today. I don't think FanDuel is going to have Stone Smart on the books. Otherwise, that would be my funnest bet.
Stone Smart is on the books for plus 2,200 for an anytime touchdown.
Put a lot on the fire for a guy.
Ruckert is also on the books for plus 850.
Yeah, they see JetHeads cleaned them out that week in Buffalo. We said Ruckert anytime touchdown during the Ruckert-assance, and now they know they know better.
Honestly, I wouldn't be opposed to throwing a couple bucks at all three tight ends and just being like, one of them's going to hit.
Yeah, you just put 5 on Beck, 5 on Ruckert, 5 on Smart, 5 on Taylor. There's your $20, and then if one of them hits, you probably make your money back.
Yep, 100%.
Okay.
All right. Well, we're going to kick it over to Connor and SNY. Thank you, everybody. Again, the numbers blow our mind. This is insane that you're all still watching after 0-6. Thank you very much for being here. Very much appreciate it. We will see you on either Monday night or Tuesday for, I don't know if we're going to do 40 minutes on the college quarterbacks, but we might, depending on how today goes. So you never know what you're going to get.
It depends how depressing today is if Paul's in an emotional state to talk about it. But he's going to get the 24-hour break to digest it this time that he didn't get when he was in London. So hopefully that helps.
Thanks, guys. We will talk to you soon.